I'd like to welcome you all to this quick presentation today. My name is Dean Fantham. I'm a managing partner and CTO at Edgile, which is a Wipro-owned cybersecurity consulting company. What we're going to talk about today is what we're calling the new imperative for cybersecurity. And what that really focuses on is the generative AI wave that's hit us all in the last 12 months. So as we go through this conversation, what we're acutely aware of through some of the surveying and work we do with many of the largest organizations in the world is just the pressure under in cybersecurity. We do an annual report called the State of Cybersecurity, and in that report, we see the increased risks and threats we're dealing with on a weekly, monthly, daily basis, as well as all the pressures we hear from lots and lots of teams that we're dealing with. And so now on top of that, this year, we've had this increasing, or at least in the last 12 months, as we turn the calendar here, we've had this generative AI wave thrown at us, primarily through the introduction of ChatGPT to kind of the general public last year. So what we see is not only do we have all this pressure on us from shortages of teams and the pressure to optimize costs and show the ROI for all the investment in cyber, but now we're asking our business teams and in some cases our boards and our customers are asking for what we're doing with AI and generative AI and how we're starting to use that. So that's really what we want to kind of just weave into what we've been doing, and as what we call the new imperative for how we're going to solve for that and what the risks are that are going to bring that's going to bring for us. So as we look at generative AI, what is it really doing? We look at it as kind of three things that it's driving as we look at it from a cyber lens. There is, and we'll kind of go through these, but the first one is, generative AI is actually generating a bunch of emergent threat for us in the cyber world, in the cybersecurity world. So there are, new threat actors, or threat actors using new AI-driven tools and threats and risks to throw at us. And there's unique risks that have been introduced into our environments as we start to use generative AI and tools into business processes and into the products and services we deliver to our customers. So we see emergent threats from AI as one lens that's coming on. The second part that's coming in, and it's kind of it's a good news, bad news from the first risk we talked about. So that's obviously bad for us with this new threat vectors and risks. The good news is we're actually getting new tools and capabilities from the historical work we've done with AI and machine learning to the new tools such as co-pilots from Microsoft and other tools like that are going to help us with threat detection and response and the speed of remediation right through our security management and security operation functions. So there actually is a benefit from that, and that's going to help us, I think, significantly as we go forward. The third part of this, which I really think is the area of focus as we go into this, is the fact that unstructured data management and data management in general is going to elevate in importance as we take on and embrace generative AI and those capabilities into products and processes and services. And if you think about generative AI, it's going to, as we do this at an enterprise scale, that's going to be the data that we use to train outcomes and models and teach these large language models to get the outcomes we want. If we don't have that data management under control, if we don't have the data under management and under control, we don't understand the risks and sensitivities that are in it. We don't understand the creators and who's accessing it, and we don't have a structured life cycle around that. That's going to be a major area of risk and threat as we go forward. And part of unstructured data management, as we all can imagine, is that we have to have an environment built around that which actually helps us. Helps us protect it. So unstructured data is going to be a function of how we do data management, as well as the environment in which it lives and operates and is created. And so that's why we're huge proponents of zero trust as the overarching architectural model, so that we protect our endpoints and our users and the data and applications they access and work on. So, as we go through this, we really need that, zero trust, modern tooling, and this new unstructured data management capability baked in. So we talked about unstructured data management there. So as we look at this, this imperative for security, the effect and the risk of not understanding the data we're going to train the models with is going to be a very large area of risk and threat for us as we go through it. The impact of ransomware or breaches on training data could be substantial to our training, to our large language models, right? As we look to train and use them, if that data is now not available, that's going to impact those outcomes. But the other part of it is more subtle, and I think potentially a bigger risk, is this idea of data poisoning in our data. If we don't understand the changes and the users across our enterprises and organizations that are changing and updating and moving the data in and out of these models and in and out of these environments where these models live, that's going to be that could have potentially large ramifications to our applications and interactions with these models, and the poisoning element could be very subtle but very damaging. So it leads us to this idea that and it's been an area of interest for a lot of us for a long period of time in the security space. How do we do unstructured data management? How do we get that under control? And that's going to be, I think, key as we go through this, as well as these other areas. So what we highlight here is these are the kind of areas of risk and threat that we really care about in the security, and that unstructured data and that we use for training is key. Obviously, we've still got to ensure the environment these operate on are secured, and some of these other threats are taken care of, but that unstructured data is super important. So what's some of the changes we're going to see as we go through this? So a lot of our security that we do today is really, it's focused on attack and risk management, right? And so, we're doing things, securing endpoints and making sure our environment's instrumented, monitored, threat and vulnerability are handled and identified and remediated as fast as possible. Identity access management, things like that, they're still critically important as we go into this new world. What the change is we're going to have to add on updated risk models and understandings as we go through it, and we're going to have to build new measures and monitoring functions so that we understand things like rate of change and the access models into data that we're using to train and update our AI systems. And I think what's going to end up happening also is we're going to have to develop new ways of monitoring these models for abuse and for unintended outcomes and things like that. And I think that's an area of increasing focus as we go through this. So what we see is, we're going to have to continue to evolve and build out our traditional zero trust and security models, but we're going to have to add these layers of AI-centered security on top of it. So finally, what do we see as we turn into 2024 and beyond? So it's critically important organizations continue the modernization journey. Most of us are in various flavors of that, but continuing to build on, build around zero trust as the architectural principle, but modernize those capabilities using new integrated platforms where we get our security from is critically important. So where possible, we should be accelerating that. The longer we stay in this, in a old or legacy world, the harder it is to take advantage of these new things. The second is we do need to get going on some of these AI-centered areas particularly now as business teams and business partners are asking for that, right? And what we really need to do is to put some building blocks in place so that we can create safe spaces for our business teams and business partners to go generate enterprise AI outcomes safely, right? How do we create safe spaces for that? And what we see that is there'll be AI risk management frameworks we need to update and create. There's methodologies that we have to help with that. At the same time along that is making sure we have AI threat models and service designs, right, that create safe containers for these services to operate and create safe, ingress and egress points for both the training data and how we do that and control that, as well as the teams and users that are going to use prompts and integrations with applications. And finally, we need that unstructured data management program strengthened and probably accelerated so that we clearly understand as we move data that's going to train models, we understand where the sensitivities are, where there's data that needs to be anonymized or synthesized, right? So it becomes more synthetic and we don't expose ourselves with PII and HSPII and other data, HIPAA data that we don't want made available in any form through these models. So with that, the goal is to get to a place where organizations can have safe spaces to do this. And this is where we, believe the imperatives need to be as we turn the calendar this year. So with that, I'll thank you for joining for this brief kind of overview of what we're talking about. There's a lot more detail and approaches and methodologies we'd love to share. This is one way to get in contact with us, and we hope to be hearing from you and working with you on this as we go forward. Thank you.